And we are back again. How is everybody doing? This is L.A. Kendrick from the House of Havoc, bringing you a new story titled, This Went Viral. Our story starts with a couple of young men, kids, if you want to call them that, anywhere from the age group of 13 to 15. And Don, I believe, is the oldest. And Travis Bass is 14. He's the main in the story, and we're going to call him TV for short. Now what happens is these kids are like the typical kids. They found a abandoned house. It's like right next door to TV. And Don and the other kids, about 5 or 6 more, they usually hang out there occasionally. And the family that was there had recently moved out, maybe a year or two ago. I mean, I call that recent because, in the scheme of, the time frame of things, hey, a year or two is not that long. So the electricity was still on in the house. And it was a 3-story house. Had an upstairs, a middle section, and a basement. And the electricity, again, was still on. I don't know if the light company didn't know to turn it off or whatever the reason was, but the family had moved out pretty quickly and took a lot of the furniture. They left a little bit of the furniture. And the boys actually found the TV that was still, there was a nice, they found a TV and they brought their video games over. And they hooked their video game system up to the television. So they had a nice little place to kick back and hang out after school or in the summer or in the wintertime. And so they had to, of course, they had to be home by dark because there's a lot of weird stuff going on around in the county. A lot of people coming up missing, and there was a broadcast with a serial killer potentially being in the area. So the kids always stayed in groups where they didn't get caught out like that, and they walked each other home, made sure that they saw each other to safety when they departed. So Don and TV, being the leaders that they are, the group, they're just enjoying the video games and the doodles and all the other things, and just enjoying life as kids do when they have an opportunity to get out and not be supervised by parents. And they were actually pretty good kids because nobody really ever did anything too mischievous to the point where it brought a lot of havoc. Most of them came from really good structured homes, and the ones that didn't looked up to the ones that did have the structured homes, and they they fell right on into line with that. With the yes sir, the no sirs, the yes ma'ams, the no ma'ams, the please, the thank yous, the covering the mouth, etc., etc. So the other kids followed the lead of Don and TB. And then one day as they were playing the game, the power just shuts off. So I guess the light company finally got around to disconnecting the power from the house, and that was the end of that. So they went home for the evening. All the kids dispersed. They went home for the evening. And the next day, they came back, and they had this board game called River Styx. It's kind of like a Ouija board. The only difference is it has a yes and a no, and there's this plastic bone, looks like a bone, and if you ask it a question, and you throw it down in the center of the board, and it's supposed to go to either the yes or the no, and it has some other symbols on the bottom. It had like a pentagram on it. And TV wasn't too crazy about it. And Don was kind of intrigued, so he's like, well, let's just play it for a few minutes. And when they did that, some of the other kids got scared because it was kind of getting dark outside, and it was dark. It was getting dark in the house. And they started asking questions. Basically about the people coming up missing around in the area, and was there a true serial killer involved? And so he threw the bone down. Don Don throws the bone down. And suddenly the bone turns to yes. Now TB looks at it and he's like, hey, I don't like this. My parents told me not to ever mess with anything demonic. And one of the other kids said, well, this isn't really demonic. It's not a Ouija board. But Travis, TB, lets them know, hey, it's the same thing, has the same principle, has the same effect. So we should stop playing this. So then Don Don says, let me just ask it one more question, TB, and then we'll be done. We'll be done. Just one more question. And the question that he asks, are these satanic and ritual killings? Throws the bone down. The bone goes to yes. And what it does, the electrical sockets, the wall sockets start popping out electricity, and then the bulbs, all of the bulbs in the house start popping and exploding. So the kids all jumped up and they ran. They all ran out of the building. And TB told Don Don, I told you not to play with it. I told you not to mess with it. You see what happened? And Don Don starts laughing, and the other kids kind of got a little laugh out of it too, but you know, most of them were really scared. They just tried to play it off really well. So they were really scared. And so TB told Don Don, it'll be the last time I play that game like that. That'll be it for me. I'm done. I'll never play a game like that again. So they go home, all the kids disperse, and they walk each other home. Because Don Don stays across the street from TB and the house. And then TB stays next door to the house, maybe 40 yards next door to the house. And when TB gets home, his mom is, you know, it's kind of dark. It's not dark, but it's right there. And his mom and his dad let him know, hey, you cutting it kind of close, aren't you? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Won't happen again. My mistake. And then across the news, you can hear the reporters talking. This just in. Additional killings have been happening in the neighborhood. They've moved from the outer city and the outer counties, and they've moved into our areas. We're going to start enacting a curfew until we get this thing under control so we can see what's going on, because we really don't have a good clue or a good grip on what's exactly happening. So everybody adhere to this curfew. It's going to be at 7:30 to the next morning until we get a good idea on what's happening exactly, because we don't have a good grip on what's going on. Back to you, Bob. So the reporter transitions over to the next reporter, and then Dad turns down the TV and he says, you heard that, right? I want you home at a decent hour. I don't want you out past dark, and I don't want you hanging with, I don't want you, you know, without your group. And TV lets him know, Dad, we never going to go anywhere without our group. So you got my word, Dad. And they eat dinner, and they finish up the dinner, and TV takes a shower, and he actually has a walkie-talkie where he can talk to Don Don, and they discuss what was going on the television. And so TB tells him, you know, they contact each other, and he's like, did you hear the news? Don Don says yes, and my parents are acting the same way that you just said yours were acting. Yeah, they're pretty freaked out about what's going on, so we got to be real careful. And then Don Don brings up the situation with the board game River Styx. And he's telling how exciting and how crazy and how scary that was. And TB says, I don't even want to discuss it anymore, because TB can see the house from next door, the house next door from upstairs. And TB tells Don Don, you know what, I'm a little tired, so I'm going to go to sleep, and I'll catch you tomorrow, man. Don Don says, okay, and they sign off. So TB climbs out his window, which actually leads to a roof where he can just sit down and watch the stars if he wants to do that. And he's laying back, and then all of it, he actually dozes off. And when he wakes up, he hears a scratching sound. So he wakes up and he's wiping his eyes and he can't figure out what's going on. And so he looks down at the old house next door and he can see somebody dragging something from the field with the high cut grass, because the grass hasn't been cut. He can see somebody dragging something from that field or the high grass to the house. And he's just steady looking, and then whoever or whatever it is, it drops whatever it's dragging and it immediately stares at him and they lock eyes. Well, TV's scared out of his mind now because whoever, whatever this thing is, can see him. So he hurries, almost falling off the roof, and he jumps back into his window and he slams his window down as he enters his house. And he's heart beating really fast and he's breathing really heavy and he's looking out the window. Very slowly looks up and looks out the window. And the image is still looking, the form, the person, whoever, whatever that thing is still looking in his direction. He drops his head back down really quickly again. Catches his breath, waits a few more seconds, looks up again. This time, when he looks out the window, it's gone. So his parents come in, his dad comes into his bedroom, knocks, and as you know, he knocks on the door and he comes right on in. And he said, "What's going on in here, man? Why aren't you asleep?" And TB is kind of too scared to tell his dad what he just seen, so because he didn't want to ruin the hangout spot. So he just said, I just had a nightmare and I fell out of bed, Dad, and I'm sorry for the noise, and yeah, let me go back to sleep. The dad says, okay. The TB goes back. The dad leaves the room, shuts the door, tells him good night. TB jumps in bed and he's pondering what he just witnessed and what he had just seen. Because remember, they said there's a serial killer loose. The board game they just played, the River Styx, just had that creepy electrical surge when they asked the question of, are the killings satanic in nature? And he dozes off to sleep. Unwillingly, but he dozes off to sleep. I'm going to leave it right there, everybody. This is part one of This Went Viral. Remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, retweet. Let's get these stories out there. I already have published work out on Amazon, Barnes, Nook, Ingram, Kindle. You guys, if you feel like you want to do so, drop me $1 or $2. My Cash App is $outrage95. It helps with getting the other work published. The longer stories, the more in-depth stories, the more detailed stories. Because, you know, of course, you got an editor and you got a lot of other things that go with the publication. And again, I am already a published writer, just trying to give some additional stuff out until I get the new books and whatnot out. All support is appreciated, and thank you in advance for anything. And thank you most definitely for your time listening to these stories. Again, this is just something to tide you over. Copyright 2020. And this has been L.A. Kendrick. Remember, check the dark recesses of your home. Check the closets. Check under your beds. And if you happen to work at night, when you step out, check your surroundings. Check under your car. Because you never know what's lurking in the dark, waiting to make you a story. And this has been L.A. Kendrick, bringing you the heavy.